So from today, the limit on the number of people able to visit loved ones in care homes has been lifted as part of the easing of COVID restrictions, but with strict isolation rules for residential homes still in place to contain COVID outbreaks. Some fear the impact of the pandemic will be felt for many more months, as Tara Welsh reports.
And this is my gorgeous, adorable little mum who I haven't given a cuddle for 6 months. And we love each other, don't we, Mum?
We sure do.
This was the only way that Lesley could see her mum for a whole year. She'll never get over it, she tells me. Her mum even spent her 90th birthday in isolation.
She was just born with a cheerful disposition, but the pandemic has completely ravaged her and robbed her of reality, really. And now it's, she's depressed.
Because COVID has meant little social interaction for many residents for almost 2 years now. COVID's had a devastating impact on care homes. At the beginning of the pandemic, many people lost their lives, and so really strict visiting restrictions came in. But as things started to open up for other people, those in care homes and some of their families said they were left feeling forgotten. Today, restrictions are easing.
We really welcome them. I think it has been such a difficult and traumatic period for everybody working in social care, healthcare and in general. For our residents and their families to know that they can now safely visit with unlimited visits has been a real blessing and really welcome news.
The new guidance means there'll be no limits on visitor numbers. Residents won't have to test or isolate after a day trip. And if there's a COVID outbreak, the length of time the care home will have to close its doors will be reduced from 28 to 14 days. But only those classed as essential caregivers will be able to go in if there's an outbreak.
Yes, well.
Lesley now has that status and is part of a campaign trying to get it legally recognised.
Some care homes are still not going along with the guidance and they're still shutting relatives out.
The government says it's been led by the science and that every resident should have the opportunity to nominate an essential caregiver. And if there are concerns that's not happening, they should raise it with the care home or the CQC. Today, though, does bring some relief to those that have missed so much. Tara Welsh, BBC London.
Well, let's get some brief reaction now from actor Ruthie Henshall, who's an ambassador for the campaign group Rights for Residents and sadly whose mum Gloria died last year. Lovely to see you again, Ruthie. We have spoken to you before. I know you've spoken openly and passionately about your mother's decline during the pandemic. You must welcome these restrictions lifting today.
It is very welcome, but let's be really clear about this. This is still only guidance, so the homes can do what they want. If there are rolling outbreaks, if 2 staff members test positive, it means that everybody in the home is shut down for 14 days, regardless of the person who tested positive being able to come back to work in 5 days. And if then somebody else tests positive, that's another 2 weeks. So this is why we need Gloria's law desperately, so that everybody in care is entitled to one essential caregiver, because it will only take another strain and they will batten down the hatches again.
So just to be clear. So just to be clear, the government guidance is saying that every care home resident should have the opportunity to nominate an essential caregiver who could visit more often. Are you saying it shouldn't be guidance? You're saying it should be mandatory. Is that?
It absolutely has to be law. We found out that the CQC has no idea how many homes. We went to the Freedom of Information, and we found out the CQC has no idea how many homes are allowing ECGs, and it's not every home. So for me, this is an absolute shocker because, you know, it's still going on.
And okay, and just to say there that we did ask the CQC about that, and they said they've made it absolutely clear to providers not following government guidance that's unacceptable and may trigger an inspection. But can I just ask you, while we have you here today, obviously a very key day with the publishing of those initial findings from Sue Gray. Reaction from you, because of course during the lockdown, you know, as I said, you've spoken about visiting your mother in a care home and your sister not being able to visit. How are you feeling about that today?
I feel like everybody else does who went through some kind of tragedy. I feel very angry. My father died. We weren't allowed to even cremate him. We couldn't have a service for him. And I was waving to my mother through a window when they were having their parties. So I have no sympathy. And his apology, Boris's apology, means absolutely nothing.
Okay. Ruthie Henshall, we're seeing a lovely picture of you and your mum, Gloria. And we wish you well, of course. And thank you so much for your time this evening. We will follow what happens.
Thank you.